times in the Hellenistic age.
Hello, I'm Bayete Chinwindi.
I'm Katie Bursty.
And I'm Yuvamar Sandoval.
And this is Alexander the Great and the Hellenistic Age. I have collected information and confirmed that Alexander the Great actually said, "I am not afraid of an army of lions led by a sheep. I am afraid of an army of sheep led by a lion."
Today we're going to be interviewing a young man by the name of Yuvamar. He will be discussing the young life of Alexander the Great.
Well, he was born in 356 BCE. He was a beloved prince in Macedonia with vast knowledge given to him by his tutor Aristotle. He was taught in literature, science,
medicine, and philosophy. In 340 BCE, his father Philip II went on a conquest to invade Thrace. He left me in charge of the kingdom at the age of 16. During the leave of absence, the Thracian tribe Meadi attempted to attack the kingdom. However, Alexander fought them off. He was then honored as a special warrior. However, at the age of 20, his father was assassinated.
We will now get an exclusive interview about Alexander's later life. Here is Alexander himself. So, Alexander, when exactly did your conquest begin?
In 334 BCE, I assumed the throne and began my conquest. I spread my empire covering 3,000 miles from northern Africa to the Middle East to what is known in your time as Pakistan. In my conquest, I met with the Persian Empire and fought King Darius III. After the Battle of Granacus River, I set my interest upon Asia and Minor Asia, which in your time is Turkey and Anatolia. I then conquered this land. After countless battles with Darius III, the final battle was the Battle of Gaugamela. After this battle of Darius ran away like a bird and was killed by Besis. Next was Egypt. Here I named the greatest city, Alexandria. After 6 months in Egypt, I went towards India. I sealed political relations by marrying princesses from different cultures. I wanted to conquer eastern land, however, the Hindu Kush challenged our journey. My troops began tired and refused in continuing. I then lost a beloved friend of mine known as Hephaestion. To a fever, I then lost the deadly fever, and in 323 BCE, I died.
We also have some more information about the culture. We will be interviewing Lily, who lives according to the Hellenistic culture. So Lily, what is different about their culture life?
Well, Bayete, they all spoke a slate called Koine Greek. This made trade more fluid. The extension of the empire meant an extension of trade routes. China became open to trade for the first time, and East Africa, Arabia, and India became more easily accessible than ever before. The opening up of a vast area of trade from the Indus River to the Nile was the result of the Alexandrian conquest. Trade through the Silk Road became easier throughout the region.
Wait, I have just received a report that their trade was essential to maintain their lifestyles. We can get access information on this from the lovely Javia. So, what can you tell us about the trade?
Well, since Greece and Macedonia were resource poor, they needed to trade with various locations. Gold was coming out of Saudi Arabia and East Africa, and silk was coming out of India and China from the Silk Roads. Also, wine and prisoners of war were coming from Greek city-states. Oh yeah, there was grain coming from East Asia and Africa. With different regions trading, different cultures influenced each other. For example, in silk, trade routes began to be used in different regions of Afro-Eurasia. Religion spread and ideas mixed due to Alexander's tolerance. In Egypt, the Macedonians began mixing Egyptian gods with Greek. Also, new religions were made. For example, cults made for the goddess of fortune, Isis, which promised immortality and good fortune to followers.
Katie also has some insight on the awesome technological advancements.
Well, Yuvi, inventions were particularly pronounced in mechanical technology, including the invention of the water mill, which was the first human-devised motive force not to rely on muscle labor. Other inventions include the right-angled gear and screw, which would become particularly important to the operation of mechanical devices and contributed to the water wheel. The Hellenic Age inventors were also the first to experiment with wind power and even created the earliest steam engine. Also, the sarissa, which is a longer spear, was created for the advantage over the other armies.
Well, do we know what happened after the death of the great leader?
After the death of Alexander, his kingdom was split into different sections governed by his generals. With no heir, his generals split the empires into 3 regions: the Antigonids in Greece and Macedonia, the Seleucids in Persia, Mesopotamia, and Ptolemy in Egypt. The different sections lasted longer than the actual empire itself. And with the economy, in order to make a profit, the Seleucids and Egyptians promoted trade and regulated industry. The Ptolemies established factories and shops in nearly every town operated by the government. Trade was heavily taxed and the economy was based on gold and silver coins. The prosperity of the Hellenistic age was the merchant and noble classes.
I've also just realized that we haven't mentioned the social hierarchy and women's position. We are going back to Lily to get an inside scoop.
So it was organized by governors who had the most power under the king. After them is the merchant class, the peasants and the farmers, and lastly the slaves or prisoners of war. While the social status of women saw a marked increase compared to the other classic period of Greek. Women had more chance to acquire education, which led to occupations such as doctors, artists, philosophers, and even noted poets. This was due to cultural diffusion that was occurring during this time.
So in summary, the death of Alexander the Great in 323 BCE resulted in a very tumultuous time. Alexander's rival generals, family, and friends were all competing for a piece of his vast empire. His empire was eventually split into 3 different dynasties: the Ptolemies, the Seleucids, and the Antigonids.
The Ptolemies were located in Egypt. The Seleucids were located in Western Asia in parts such as Syria and Persia. And the Antigonids were located in Greece and Macedonia. The spread of Greek culture in these empires came in the form of art, distribution of the Greek coin, and language. Later Greek-style cities sprung up and exerted a major cultural influence on native populations. Many developments in people's way of life occurred as well.
There was still a significant farming population, but this period saw the movement of people into big cities. This period was also noted for its centers of learning and contributions to the field of art, technology, science, and philosophy.
The Hellenistic age was a time of great cultural diffusion. The Greek culture had a profound impact on the people and the lands of the Middle East, and Hellenism persisted as cultural force for 1,000 years.